truly, truly a week of indoor and arena football of all time. Let me tell you. So, where do we begin? Might as well just start with the thing that's happening first, or rather, the thing that's been breaking news cycles all for the past 36 hours or whatever. The West Texas Warbirds are apparently coming back. Lee Curtis and company are, returning to team in Amarillo. Apparently, that's the thing that's happening. Don't know where. Don't know why. Don't know how. A lot of people are saying this is an NAL team, which I would be surprised because, Leaf Curtis and company in the past, they have been associated with the CIF and stuff like that, and the NAL now is basically the CIF. Let's just keep it 150%. Yeah, this is an intriguing time. Again, this is a domino that, I don't think I expected because I thought Robert Arena, kind of made things kind of bad out there in Amarillo, but with new ownership, I don't know who the guys are yet, but maybe in the future I'll figure it out, or somebody else will. Somebody else will probably figure it out because I have not really read up too much on that as far as that goes. Yeah, this is an intriguing time. Again, my predictions for 2026, for the 2026 season, I do not think there will be that many teams that will be added. So this is one of maybe 5 teams that I think will be added. I'm talking new teams, not expansion, not teams that are revived or old brands or anything like that. Like new team, I guess you could call this a new team. I guess. I mean, it's technically the West Texas Warbirds, but they're in Amarillo instead of Odessa. I don't know. But yeah, the other big real thing is, some quarterbacks have been released, Caleb Barker got released from Jacksonville, Tyler Huff is now, the guy. And then Quad City released the quarterback as well, I think. Tony O'Neill, unfortunately, probably one of the biggest things of this past week was Tony O'Neill getting suspended for 2 games. Duluth won, by the way, against St. Joe's. We'll talk about the TA first, I guess, to kind of get things off. 2-game suspension, fined $1,000, and it was more than likely due to his outspoken nature. If he had came with Steve a couple months ago, he probably would have spoken his mind completely. Like, I guarantee you that I probably would have asked him stuff that allowed him to speak his mind completely. But the TAL is cracking down on stuff like coaches doing a little bit too much. So they even said in the press release, "Hey, better chill out. We're gonna send that hammer." So yeah, there was an NAL exhibition game. I know I said I was going to talk about the TL first, but Shreveport, Keith Russ and company is like, oh well, we're gonna get all the guys back next year. We're gonna get all our coaches back. We're gonna get some players back. We're gonna make Shreveport our place to be next year. We all know that is absolutely 150% a lie because, there was no reason for this game to even happen. Dallas, of course, only put up 14 points. Shreveport in the wrong uniforms for the 3rd game in a row, which I was apparently not noticing. I did not even notice, but I did notice this when somebody pulled it up and brought it to my attention. I was like, wait a minute. I have to go back and look at this. And lo and behold, Shreveport has been wearing uniforms that are not theirs for the past 3 games. Somebody come get me off this ship, please. Somebody come get me off. Please, I'm begging you. All right. Let me kind of reel it back in a little bit. So the AAL2 playoffs are set. Jersey's taking on Maryland in one semifinal. I forgot the other one. I forgot the other one already. This is what happens when you don't, you don't look things up. But I do know that one semifinal is going to be that. So yeah, that's not helpful at all. All right, the AL2 is not being helpful here. Not helpful at all. I don't know the other playoff semifinal, but Georgia did lose after, a forfeit last week. Carolina forfeited last week, and now this time around, Georgia was lost. The Pittsburgh Outlaws are the worst team in arena football this year. One of the worst teams, I think, of all time. Well, they're not one of the worst teams because there's some other teams this year that have definitely taken the cake. For some of the worst. But, AL2 is continuing to happen. Meanwhile, the NAL, going back to the NAL real quick so I can kind of wrap it up here with the NAL. Playoff football happened this past Saturday night, and man, oh man, Beaumont was able to avenge, that one loss from earlier this year. That they were able to defeat Columbus, Tommy Armstrong, and that stout beef defense. Crazy thing to say, after Tommy Armstrong retired and has now come back. But yeah, the beef took care of business against Colorado for the second week in a row. It was not as hard. It was a hard fought game for Colorado for about 50 minutes, and then the last 10 minutes happened. So yeah, it'll be beef. The beef going back to the championship for the fifth straight year in a row. The Omaha Beef. We're going back to another championship, but this time they'll be going on the road to Beaumont in Doggett Ford Park on a Monday night. That's so disgusting, but whatever. We have a championship game between the first year of Beaumont Renegades and the defending, reigning, undisputed, multiple-time champion Omaha Beef on a Monday night. I know. Meanwhile, the AF, we're going to go to the IFL last. We're going to go to the IFL and the TAL last. In the NAL, we already was talking about the NAL. But in the AF1, things got a little bit dicey over the weekend. Oregon won. Salina won on a crazy, play at the end to beat Southwest Kansas, and they were down a little bit, and then they came back. And then Billings on Monday night, which if you watch the Stanley Cup final on Monday night, at least that was a little bit less of a blowout, than that Stanley Cup final. But, still, Billings beat Nashville, and, things are still up in the air about where Billings will go, next year. So now the playoffs are in a little bit of a weird situation. Albany is clinched. They have not played in like 3 weeks, though. That's due to the way things have been working out, with the schedule and everything. Southwest Kansas, yes, they've clinched, but now things got a little bit weird. Salina, all they need to do is win, and they're in. Corpus is pretty much out of the equation. Oregon, Nashville, Billings, they are all still in it, and they all have scenarios to where they can get into it, So, meanwhile, TAL, Eau Claire won their first game. Again, we already talked about Duluth winning their second straight, first without Tony O'Neill. And Iowa beat Hot Springs in that was close for a little bit. Hot Springs brought some fight in there, but, ultimately, the Woo won. I know. And finally, in the IFL, again, like I said, there's been some releases that have happened, over the past couple of weeks and stuff like that. But ultimately, it does not matter because Iowa's garbage. San Antonio's not good. Fisher's lost to Massachusetts. Jacksonville beat Arizona. Arizona's kind of fallen off a little bit, But hey, Jacksonville's playing pretty good football. Can you blame them? Bay Area won. San Diego won. And there's just a lot of muck, to be quite honest with you. Let me take a look at the IFL standings, because this is like, I just want people to realize that, I just want people to realize that this is not the type of year to be like, oh, well, things are looking interesting. No, Fishers is not good. Iowa is terrible. San Antonio is terrible. Northern Arizona is 1-9, terrible. Now Bay Area leads the West. Quad City still leads the East, but Green Bay's right behind them. Some people say Green Bay's kind of mid, but Jacksonville is right there, behind them too. Tulsa, lost again, but I mean, they gotta get it together. The Oilers got to get it together. They got to get it together over the next couple of weeks, or else Massachusetts will catch up with them. I do not believe Tucson, San Antonio, or Northern Arizona will catch up with any of the teams out west. I think our 4 playoff teams in the West are set. Vegas, San Diego, Arizona, and Bay Area. I think those are the 4. They are set, right there. But the East, now with Massachusetts gaining a little bit of traction, it's kind of a little bit of a race for that 4 spot now. So now Tulsa has to be on their toes. The next couple of weeks ain't going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. The Wild Wild West ain't so wild, but the East is looking like a beast in a way. Basically 9 teams really in it, as far as, playoffs are concerned. So, what are you excited for this upcoming week? The NAL championship is on a Monday night, so, that's kind of concerning. I don't know what the other playoff matchup is in the AL too, but we'll find out when we find out. You're probably wondering, hey, what happened to some of the other videos that we were going to do? I'm pushing those back a little bit. Just hold on a minute. I know I'm going to wait, probably till like tomorrow or Friday or whatever. I don't feel like doing it today. I don't feel like doing too much today. I'm going to do this one, and then that's pretty much it. So I'm out. Again, what are your thoughts of this week? I think, the biggest thing is that Shreveport continues to blow my mind in the worst possible ways. Like a couple weeks ago, I said, hey, Shreveport is actually a feel-good story. I probably should have worded that a little bit better. It's a story. Shreveport is a story. Beaumont's a better story, but Shreveport is a story in its own in the NAL this year, which is crazy. Yeah. We'll worry about, any teams dying, from the NAL as we get to that point, which a lot of people suspect will be Idaho, or rather one of the biggest contributors in this industry. It's probably right about Idaho because Chris Reynolds is cheap. Let's just keep that real. But yeah, I'm out. I ain't got nothing else to say. I hope Shreveport is next because this is terrible, to be quite honest with you. But you're probably like, no, you're not supposed to say that, big boy. Whatever. We need healthy teams, not teams that are going to do stuff like what Shreveport's been doing.